Mediterranean Sea, 2015. "My baby," Mahood's mother wailed. "My Hana is gone." The Mediterranean was still attacking them, wave after wave, trying to drown them, and Mahood could tell that his mother didn't want to fight anymore. It was all Mahood could do to keep her head above water. "I'm still here," Mahood told her. "I need you." "I gave my baby to a stranger," Mahood's mother howled. "I don't even know who she was." "She's safe now," Mahood told her. "Hana is out of the water. She is going to live." But Mahood's mother would not be consoled. She lay back in the water, her face to the sky, and sobbed. The dinghy coming had been re-energized Mahood, but he could feel the buzz quickly draining away, replaced by cold exhaustion that left his arms and legs numb. The sea rolled over him and he went under again, coming up spluttering. He could not keep himself and his mother afloat. Not for long. They were going to die here. But at least Hana was safe. Yes, he had been the one to convince a stranger to take his little sister away, and yes, his mother might never forgive herself for letting Hana go, but at least neither of them would have to live long with her regret. The rain began again, the awful, pelting, deadening rain, and it felt to like Mahood like Allah was crying for them, with them. They were drowning in tears. Under the sweeping wash of rain, Mahood heard something like a drum beat, water on something that was not water. He searched the rising and falling waves until he saw it, the backside of a life jacket still strapped to a man who floated face down in the water. In his mind's eyes, Mahood immediately filled in the drowned man's face with that of his father, and his heart thumped against his own useless life jacket. He flailed in the water, half swimming, half towing his mother toward the body. But no! The life vest was blue, and his father's had been orange like Mahood's, and this one was a real working life jacket. Mahood let his mother go for just a moment and wrestled the body over. It was a big man who had sat next to him on the dinghy. His eyes and mouth were open, but there was no life in either one. The man was dead. It wasn't the first dead body Mahood had seen. Not after 4 years of civil war in his hometown right in the center of the fighting. A man had been killed right next to him in his family's car, he realized with a start. How long ago had that been? Days? Weeks? Seemed like a lifetime ago. But no matter how many times he saw death, it never stopped being horrifying. Mahood shuddered and recoiled. But if the man was dead, that meant he didn't need his life jacket. Mahood fought down his fear and fumbled with the straps on the dead man's life jacket. Mahood's fingers moved, but he couldn't feel them. His hands were like blocks of ice. He only knew he was touching the straps because he could see it happening. Finally, he got one strap unbuckled and another, and as the body began to shift in the vest, Mahood realized he was condemning this man to the bottom of the sea. He would never be bathed and wrapped in a kafan, never be mourned by those who loved him, never have his friends and family say prayers over him, never be buried facing Mecca. Mahood was putting a man in his grave, and he had a duty to him. Mahood had heard funeral prayers too many times in his short life, most recently for his cousin Saeed, who had died with a barrel bomb exploded. Mahood quietly recited one now. "Oh God, forgive this man and have mercy on him and give him strength and pardon him. Be generous to him and cause him entrance to be wide and wash him with the water and snow and hail. Cleanse him of his transgressions as white cloth is cleansed of stains. Give him an abode better than his home and a family better than his family and a wife better than his wife. Take him into paradise and protect him from the punishment of the grave and from the punishment of fire." When he finished, Mahood clicked open the last of the straps, and the man's body rolled out of the vest and down into the murky depths of the Mediterranean Sea. "Here, Mom, put this on," Mahood said. It took some time to get her into the life jacket, Mahood doing most of the work, but at last it was on her, and Mahood no longer had to fight to keep her afloat. She lay on her back, eyes closed, muttering about Hana, and Mahood clung to her life jacket. He still had to kick his legs to not pull them both under, but not nearly as so much. He didn't know where they would go or how they would get out of the water. Perhaps in the light of day they would see land and be able to swim for it. In the meantime, they had to survive the night. Joseph, page 183, just outside Havana Harbor, 1939, 118 days from home. "Help! My dad jumped overboard! Help!" Joseph cried. Far below him, already a couple 100 yards from the ship, Joseph's father thrashed crazily in the water. He screamed incoherently, but he wasn't calling out for rescue. On the decks below, passengers ran to the rails and pointed. The ship's siren continued to blow, and sailors ran about, but nobody was doing anything. Joseph spun around helplessly. What was he supposed to do? Jump in after his father? It was such a long way down, he didn't know how to swim. Down below on sea deck, one of the Cuban policemen tossed his cap and gun belt aside, kicked off his shoes, and jumped headlong into the green water. He hit the ocean with a slap and a splash, and for many seconds Joseph held his breath as though he was the diver himself. Joseph's lungs were just about to burst when the man broke the surface a few yards away, where he hit, gasping for breath. The man flipped the wet hair out of his face and spun until he had his bearings and set off swimming for Joseph's father. Joseph's heart raced as fast as his feet had flew down the stairs. He pushed through the crowds and ran to the rail, but the policeman hadn't yet reached his father. A woman screamed, and Joseph followed the pointing fingers. 2 shark fins had appeared in the water. Joseph froze in terror. There were more screams as his papa sank beneath the waves, and Joseph had to cling to the rail not to collapse. One of the St. Louis lifeboats hit the water, and the ship's siren had brought more launches from the shore, but none of them were going to be in time. The only person close enough to save Joseph's father was the Cuban policeman. Even though the shark still circled, the policeman took a deep breath and dived beneath the waves. Joseph counted the long seconds before the man broke the surface again, this time with Papa in his arms. The passengers on the ship cheered, but Joseph's father didn't want to be rescued. He struggled in the man's arms, beating and flailing. "Murderers!" he cried. "They'll never take me!" But Papa was weak and the policeman was strong. One of the motor launches from the shore reached them first, and the policeman helped the other men lift Joseph's father into the boat. "Let me die! Let me die!" Joseph's father cried. The words struck Joseph like slaps to the face, and tears sprang to his eyes. His father would rather die than be with his son, his daughter, his wife. The crack of a pistol shot made Joseph jump. One of the men on the boat stood aiming a gun down into the water near the policeman. "Pat! Pat!" He shot twice more, and one of the shark fins turned away from the policeman to attack the shark, and the man had wounded with his pistol. The men laid Joseph's father on the bottom of the boat and helped the weary policeman aboard. There were sighs of relief and whispered prayers on the St. Louis, but Joseph's heart lurked when he saw his father kick away the man trying to help him. Papa lunged for the side of the small boat, trying to get back to sea. "Let me die!" he cried out again. The policeman grabbed him and pulled him back to the boat. 2 more of the men restrained him, and the boat quickly turned and sped toward the shore. The St. Louis siren stopped blasting, and suddenly it was all over. All around Joseph, passengers wept, but Joseph now felt more stunned than sad. His father was gone. In many ways, his father had really never come back from the concentration camp. Not the father Joseph knew and remembered, not the father he loved. He had come back in body, but not in spirit. Joseph's father was gone. His mother was unconscious. His little sister was all by herself, and they would never let Joseph's family into Cuba now, not after his father had gone mad. Joseph and his family would all be sent back to Germany, back to the Nazis. Joseph's world was falling apart, and he didn't see any way to put it back together again.